Hi everybody, I just wanted to make a quick run through of setting up Statseeker image panels in a few minutes, about 20 minutes, the steps that you would go through and the way we can get something useful. Okay, so the basic steps that we're going to go through is deciding exactly what you want from the panel, make the background that you want, because Statseeker's just putting nodes on top of the background that you desire. Log on to Statseeker 5.5.3 if you're using the image panels, and with all groups or with admin access. Make and import the new image panel, and the image background can be made by yourself, or it could be something like a plan of one of the buildings you're in, a campus, or it could be a schematic. Make the queries you want, and the commonest ones are want to have show if a device is down, and want to show what the interface utilization is on a particular connection. Add one of each node and set the colors and links that you want in your application. What you can have is a drill down that takes each, let's say, device. As you click on the node, it takes you to the appropriate web page to see more details on that device, or for an interface, could take you to the appropriate interface page. Copy these two model nodes for each of the nodes that you want on the entire dashboard. And finally, once it looks right, set the permissions for who can see the dashboard. So fairly straightforward. The kind of things that you could do, you can superimpose nodes on top of plans, showing which surveillance cameras are missing, for example, on a drawing. It could be a full schematic of a network, showing the connections that you've got, latencies, utilizations. It could be a mixed panel, in which case we've got a full plan of motorway services, in this case, showing which of the pumps are connected and online. And of course, in Statseeker, you can bring in external feeds as well. And we've got the real-time mapping panels showing what's going on. So all of these can be brought together in a single dashboard. We could show racks, which devices are down, facilities like old folks' homes. Statseeker in some parts of the world is doing a lot of these now to make sure that services are there when clients in homes need them. So back to the plan. Decide exactly what you want. Once you've done that, make the background image that you want. I'd use PowerPoint. I'm a salesman. That's what I'm familiar with. But you could be taking the image from anywhere. So basically, I'm going to make a network image using PowerPoint. For that, I'm going to go into the edit mode. I'm going to pull up the slide, copy and paste. So I've got my switch to the accounts office as well. I'm going to add into there a connection. So I think a simple line will do it from there to there. A bit pale, good. So that's basically the background that I want to put my nodes onto. Now to use that, I'm going to copy all of these and group them. And then I'll save that as an image. Save as a picture. And I'm going to call it my small network. You can see this is a PNG file. There's multiple options you can use in Statseeker, but a PNG file is fine, and I'll save it into the pictures folder. Okay. So once I've got that, going back to my PowerPoint, we've decided what we want. We've made the background image, and now log on to Statseeker 553 if we're using the image panel with all groups or admin access, just to make sure we're seeing everything as we put this together. Get the new image and load it in. So here's my new Statseeker. I'm starting a new dashboard. And in my new dashboard, I want an image panel. make this full size so it's a little clearer. Now, first step is so I can see what's what. Load my image in here. You see I've got an alert because there's no nodes in there and no data at the moment. I could link directly to an external URL, but I'm going to put into here the image that I've just made. Small network. Upload it. There we go. So that's my first step done. I think I'll give it a name that's a little more meaningful as well. I'm going to call it the Athens office. Good. So going back to my PowerPoint, I've got the image panel and I've loaded in the image. And now I make the queries. So there are two steps to putting the nodes, the real data onto these dashboards. The first one is to set up the queries, whether I want to find out the speed of an interface, if a device is up or down, the utilization, anything I put together, I do this as the queries. And then I put in the nodes. So each position, I say, please apply this query. For example, is the device up or down, to the router in Athens. So I decide the query, and then I decide the nodes it applies to. So the first step, I'm going to put two queries in, one saying device is down, and one showing utilization. So the queries are put together under metrics. So I'm going to make a standard metric. It's going to be relevant to the interface. Now groups, I happen to know that this is the Athens office, means I don't have to search through everything as I'm putting these together. And the fields that are relevant, in my case, I think we'll have receive utilization, if I can, there we go. So now how do I reference it? I'm going to put into here, I'm going to link to the device name. And I'm also going to have in here the title of the interface. Good. Oops. So that's my standard query for looking at a connection. The next query I'm going to put in, B, is going to be for, again, standard, and it's going to show a device. And for that device, I'm going to choose again the group of Athens. And the fields I'm going to put in there are going to be ping state. There we go, event fields, ping state. Perfect. Now, the only other thing I want is a label, and I'm going to use the device name for that. Good. So those are my two queries. I've got one for the device and one for the interface. So going back to my PowerPoint, I've got the image and I've made the two queries I want. Now I'm going to add a node for one for each query type, and I'm going to set the links and the color. The reason I do one of each type is I can then copy that, and my settings for color changes, if a device is down, device is up, or if an interface is overloaded, they'll carry as I copy and I don't have to enter them with each node. So to add nodes onto the diagram, I click on the image map because now I'm not putting together metrics. Now I'm actually accessing what's on the image. And it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3 switches there and a router that I want to know the status of. So the query I'm going to put in is a device query. It's going to refer to Athens switch 1. I can change the name if I wish, but the metric I've got is the ping state. If I wanted to add a link, so this is when I click on a specific device, I wanted to move, for example, to the device dashboard to see the history in the background, then I can add that in here just by collecting it to a dashboard. But in my example, I'm not. But what I do want is that if the device is up, I'd like the background to be green. If the device is down, I'd like the background to be red. Good. So now I can see it's already put my node on there. Athens switch 1 is up, and I can move that to wherever it's most convenient. If I want to change the title, just so you can see how, I could call this the sales office switch. In fact, let's shorten it, so let's just say sales office. Good. And again, we have options here. I think in this case, do we need to see the word up or down? I think the color shows us that, so we'll take away the metric. Now you can see that simply the sales office is up. Now I've got 1, 2, 3 other switches I want to add. In fact, and the router as well. So I'm going to duplicate this node. Sales office ping state, I'm going to duplicate it another 3 times. And you see at the moment, they all refer to the sales office. Switch 2 is actually accounts. Okay. Switch 3 is main switch. Just for interest, I'm going to take out that extra title. And this one is going to be my router. I'll leave the title as it is. So now I've got all of my devices in here, the Athens router, the main switch, and the accounts office. So they'll show me the status, up, down, and if I want to add a link to drill down in more detail. In fact, let's add one more for Wi-Fi. So I think that's switch 4. This is the office Wi-Fi. There we go. Now I've got my device information, and if any of these devices go down, I'll see that change in real time. That's done. Now I'm going to add my link nodes. So this time the query is interface. The entity is, let's say, Athens link to router. I'm going to leave the label as it is in the first case, but the details I'm going to get out of this are not a string, it's a number. So change that to number. The metric is utilization. And because it's a number, I now have ranges. So let's say from 0 to 5% utilization. I want the background to be clear. I'll set a custom background and make it transparent. at another range, going from 5 to 40. I want the background to be green, and then from 40 up, 40 to 100%. I want the background color to be orange. Please take care. Okay. So I think that node is done. Let me see. Standard util decimals, don't need decimals. Okay. Unfortunately, because I've made the first background clear and the utilization is at the moment low, I can't see the font. So I'm going to make the font in this case. There we go. Yeah, utilization on that one is currently 0. So, but the usefulness of that is it doesn't strike the eye unless values start to increase, and it's worth looking at. So how many links do I want to assess? I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to duplicate this one 5 times. I'll click 5 times on that duplicate button. And each time I'm going to be looking at a different interface. You'll obviously have to pick exactly which one is appropriate to your network. Oops. But I don't have to change anything except the entity that this is referring to. Which interface it's actually relevant on. And you'll see the name changes there at the top. I think this is the last one. Okay. Now those will be a little stacked at the moment. We can see we've got some utilization percentages there. And whereas I'm just placing randomly, you'll know which nodes belong to which connections. There we go. So, apart from adding the links for the drill down, which as we said, you can choose just here, drilling down to other dashboards, choosing which dashboard you want. In this case, it might be a device. So we'll probably choose one of the device dashboards. Apart from adding those, I think we're done. I go back to my main page, drag that out so it's a bit more useful size. We can now see the connections we've got in different places, the speeds they're running at, and as any of these go down, you'll see them change from green to red. And on the utilizations, we see them become apparent once they're above a certain threshold, and they'll turn orange once that value gets high. That's your basic example of how to do a dashboard. Now, if I go back to our PowerPoint, once we've got the nodes and entities set, looks right, set the permissions for who can see the dashboard. So again, users that don't have access to any of the Athens office data won't see what's going on here. All our dashboards link to what data a user can actually see. But if you want to control who can see a dashboard and when, we can simply adjust that in settings. We can say save as. What I'll do is I'll save it first. Copy 5, let's say. Save it into the general folder. I want to give it a name that's more useful. And then we can go to permissions. At the moment, there's an editor and a viewer role. If we want to control that for specific people, we can select what kind of role and choose the people from the list. And here we can set if that individual can view or edit. So once we've set the permissions, the Athens office network, we can add other dashboards here as usual, add a pane, but basically that's running in real time. And that's your first run-through example of setting up an image panel dashboard. If you've got any questions, please get in touch with any of us, or of course, there's the Docs Statseeker page, and you can get details of any particular aspect of this. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.